Howdy, folks. Welcome back to another episode of, what are we calling this? Tips and tricks to beat the Summer Slowdown 2021. Now, first of all, please excuse me because I'm going to be reading from my notes here, so I'm going to be looking down quite a bit here. But my name is Mo, and this is Reseller Niche, and we talk about buying and reselling and selling and reselling and anything to do with reselling and the process and all that good stuff on eBay and Amazon. So if you can do me a quick favor, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. As cringy as that sounds, I'm trying to hit the 1K mark, and it's our 5-year anniversary for this channel in May, and I'd like to hit that mark before May. So do me a favor and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. But let's get right into this. So I'm going to go through 10 things that will hopefully help jumpstart your sales if you're having summer slowdown, as some people call it right now. I guess before, I just want to get into this really fast. I'm not exactly sure if the summer slowdown exists as we kind of think about it. I kind of think about it slightly differently. You know, some people say it doesn't exist, some people say it does. I'd say yes and no. It's pretty simple. Less eyeballs on your items means less sales. You know, people are going on vacation, moving, school's out. COVID is ended. People are going outside and are, you know, legally allowed to walk around and stuff like that. So that's a big deal. And obviously they're possibly not on their phones or on their laptops. So anyways, all of this contributes to whatever you want to call it, less sales in the summertime. We'll call it that. Either way, so what can we do to combat that if you're having flat sales, which we all do from time to time? To save, and one side note, to save everybody time and my rambling, possibly if you don't want to listen to me ramble, I'm going to put my notes for this entire thing in the description. So you can stop the video right now and go and read the notes. It's in note form though. I didn't write it out perfectly, so it's probably full of my lovely grammatical errors, and but at least you don't have to hear me mumbling. But anyways, let's get right into it. So first of all, number one thing that you can possibly do to help summer slowdown, or whatever you want to call it. Take a look at your store. So for Amazon, Amazon has great analytics, great, if you just go through, look through their inventory control, they actually mark down pretty much everything you need to. So I don't really have to question what the issue is. So I'm going to be talking about eBay primarily. So sorry for any Poshmark, Mercari, Etsy sellers. This is mainly going to be about eBay. So what do I do with eBay? I start with the basics. Ask yourself this, and this is what my buddy Leroy Blood, Sweat, and Sell asked me: am I consistently listing? And people, you know, have different ways of listing. Some people list weekly, daily, monthly, whatever. You have a target, but do you have a target? Are you listing daily? Now, this is extremely cliche. Everyone's like, yeah, whatever. Of course we know that, but are you doing it? So I, to be honest, wasn't really doing that consistently. I listed. I had a amount per day that I needed listed. I know a lot of people like a dollar amount per day. Whatever works for you, do that consistently. That would be number one. Set yourself a goal. Check once a week, once a month, whatever, you know, quarterly, if you're hitting that goal. It's pretty simple. You see Lonnie doing it. You see all these guys on YouTube doing it. They have a board. They mark X amount of dollars per day or X amount of listings per day or week or whatever it is. Do that. Whatever works for you. Get a notepad, use Google Notes, whatever it is. I like to use Google Sheets. So, I mean, I have a little spreadsheet. I'm not big on spreadsheets, but that's what I use. Google is the best, I think, and it's free, so why not? So I know, actually, personally, I was talking to Leroy about this last week. His sales have been going through the roof. So he's a big proponent of just consistently listing. That would be number one. Number two. If you were to take a look at your listings, would you buy from you? And I know personally, looking at some of my listings that are 2 or 3 years old, you know, that's number one. If it's a 3-year-old listing, it should still be there. But anyways, some of these listings, I wouldn't purchase those items. They're just not good. The pictures are bad, descriptions are bad, whatever, the item specifics are missing. Sometimes their categories are off. So all that kind of stuff. So number one, I would look at is the pictures, because I think people are lazy. I'm inherently lazy. I'm the laziest person on earth. So are the pictures, excuse me, the way you would want them to look like if you were purchasing that item, said item. Are you going to be buying that item from you or not? So if not, that's a ding, 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 number one. I think people buy the pictures, the titles, and the item specifics, number three. I think pictures are number one. People just scroll, scroll, scroll. They don't even read. The picture is the thing that grabs their attention. Now, maybe they've searched for your item, so I guess you could argue that way too first, but still. So use all 12 pictures if you can. Even if you only have 4 pictures, reuse those 4 pictures 3 times. Rotate them, zoom them in, do whatever you can. But just make sure that you got good pictures. There's a bunch of them up there. People can actually see what they're buying. So that's my number 2 thing to look out for. And, oh, one caveat to that. I would say that white backgrounds, and not just because I'm lazy, but I don't think they're all necessary. I mean, and not just for white items. I'm talking about, I know a lot of people that they list a lot more than I do, but they will not use white backgrounds because it's a time suck. So if that's your issue, if you're, you're strolling along, you're pounding out those listings, and the white backgrounds are holding you back, that's something to look at. So, I mean, I know a lot of people that are the opposite too. They go and they edit every single picture. Everything has to be perfect, because Google says this and eBay does everything that Google wants them to do. Whatever. Are you getting sales? Yes or no? That's what you need to worry about. Don't worry about, Joe Reseller on YouTube. Don't worry about, and I didn't mean that for a specific Joe. Blah, blah, blah reseller on YouTube. Don't worry about things that are out of your control. You can control your store, your pictures, so worry about that. All right, I'm babbling. Number 3, other than the pictures, focus on the title and item specifics, like I said. Now, if you've ever listed on the eBay app, which I started to recently, you can see that the title gets populated in the description. So the description right now is negligible. And I've even heard people say that nobody even, let me rephrase that. The item description isn't even searchable. So I've heard that. I'm not sure if it's true. I'm pretty sure it is. So me personally, I worry about the pictures, the item title, and the item specifics. The item description is either formulated, it gets populated on its own, or I just copy and paste the title. So that's one thing that could hopefully save you time. Don't worry about the description, but make sure that title is good. I like to order it by order of importance. Like if it's I do a lot of shirts. So like if I'm doing like a pearl snap or like a vintage Wrangler pearl snap shirts, men's size extra large, that would be like a typical title. Now, if that was a brandless shirt, then I would probably start with something like pearl snap or vintage pearl snap or vintage Western or however it was. And I know a lot of people say, don't use the word vintage at the beginning. I don't always do that anymore, but it's kind of become a really bad habit. So that's one thing. You might not want to use vintage as the very first word, only if you don't have like a brand or a style or something like that. So if it's an important word, use it. Number 4, do you lack the inventory? Do you lack the money to purchase new inventory? So I think pretty much everywhere along the line, when you're reselling, you'll run into this. You either run out of time or you run out of money. That's what they say in business, right? Or at least that's what I heard in Shark Tank. So if you have, a few hundred items, 1,000 items, multiple 1,000 items, I'm guessing some of those inventories, some of that inventory, excuse me, is either going to get taken down by eBay at some point, or it's just not listed anymore, at least with me. Maybe I have a messy store, but every year I go through and I try and update my listings. And then when I do that, I see that said item is not there anymore. I do a lot of clothing, so I have everything in bins. So I'll grab a bin and I'll go through that bin and I'll double check that the listing is good. And then I want to say out of every 100 listings, I find 3 to 5 no longer on eBay for whatever reason. They're just not there anymore. It might have been sold and it was canceled before they actually, it was shipped out. And then when I went to relist it, it didn't relist. That I believe happens. Or it could just be, like I said, I have 2 to 3 year old items. I think eBay, believe they suppress items, but I believe they give preference to newer or more updated or correctly updated items. So I think, most people think, eBay hides listings. That's not in their benefit to hide listings, but what is in their benefit to do is to push listings that are better, items that are going to sell better for them and faster. So I think that's what happens. So anyways, go through your inventory, see if there's stuff missing, relist that stuff. You don't have to pay for new stuff because that is essentially new stuff at that point. Okay, what else is there here? Number 5. Wow. This brings me to my next point. Oh, okay. I shouldn't be reading that out loud. Maybe your items aren't any good. Now, this I'm talking to myself again. I have a lot of bad buys. We all have bad buys. Bulk lots where you sold 1 or 2 items and the rest are garbage. So you either want to donate these items, which is a whole other issue. We're not talking about that now. Or you need to repurpose. You need to lot up these items if you have more than one of them. Check and see if these items are still relevant. I know with clothing, I'm really bad about keeping stuff. 2 years ago, this brand was great. Now it's not. The pricing's off. This and that is off. So there's a good chance that some of your items, some of your listings are for items that people aren't actually looking for right now. Could be a seasonality thing. Could just be an item that is oversaturated, or people just don't want that item. So double check your listings for stuff like that. You can go through. eBay's pretty good about, you can go through and see what, and they'll even mark down items that are not working very well. I forget the word, but it basically says that this listing needs to be checked because it's not doing what it should. So that was number 5. Number 6, overpricing. So this is something I'm horribly guilty of. I have prices that are ridiculous. Like I think I had a video where I had a t-shirt and I had it listed for like $500 for whatever reason. I don't know if it was a typo or if I was just smoking crack on that day. But for whatever reason, I got an offer for $50 for that, and that's how I found out that I had it listed for $500. And of course, I let it go because it was like a $2 t-shirt. Anyways, my point to this is, are your prices way out there? And it could have been that your prices, like in the last comment that I made, they were correct at the time of the listing, but now they aren't. And going through, especially if you have hundreds, thousands of items, it's difficult to do. So this could be a year-old item. Could just be that they updated whatever it is. If you're like video games, electronics, that kind of stuff gets updated. The latest iPhone is always the best iPhone, right? Or the most expensive one. So, for example, the new GoPros are coming out, I believe, in September, October-ish. So I'm guessing that the old GoPros are going to be up for sale, or be selling for less money, or whatever it is in the next couple months. So check on your pricing. Your pricing has to be accurate, especially if we're calling the summer slowdown here. Less eyeballs, there's just less people looking for items right now. So you want to do what you can to sell said item. So, another thing to do there is check and see what's sold. If that item's sold by somebody else, check the listing, check the keywords, check the titles, check the descriptions, check the pricing, which would be the relevant point for this topic here. Check the pricing. If your item is listed for, $150 and somebody just sold it for 60, somebody else sold it for 55, somebody else sold it for 65, there's a theme there, and, maybe it's not the same item, maybe it is, but whatever. Double check your pricing. All right, so let's revisit taking a good look at your store again. So this time, let's look at your metrics. I believe it's what I'm talking about here. What's your feedback looking like? So I don't care if you have 98, 98, 100, 1 negative, 1 neutral. Now, that's not what I'm talking about. That's negligible. I mean, do you have like 4 negatives? Do you have like 50 unresponded to emails? Do you have open cases, especially for returns? Sometimes all you have to do is upload the tracking and that's it, it's done. I had one yesterday, the guy said, I didn't receive my items. Then I just uploaded the tracking, and hopefully that's gonna go away now because eBay swears by the tracking. So if the tracking is there, that kind of thing. Go and check I always check the help and contact tab every morning. You can see your current defects, you can see your future defects, and it breaks it down by US and then outside of the US as well. So I do that. It doesn't take long. You can actually fight future defects before they've actually hit your account, because it happens, I think, once a month or something like that, but whatever. So another thing to do, obviously, right on the Seller Hub, you see the tasks section. They put everything in red if it needs to be done, stuff that needs to be shipped out today, emails that need to be responded to. Make sure there's nothing in red. As of July 12th, I believe, that was eBay's last round of the item specifics. If you haven't done those already, get those done. Now, one thing I would say is that there are the recommended and the required. Get the required ones done. The recommended, I've probably got 1,000 that I need to do still. That number keeps growing. So until it's kind of a required thing, that's the one thing I would say, unless you have the time to do it, I wouldn't bother with that. But then again, someone might argue and say, no, you need to get rid of all. But no, that's it for number 7. All right, number 8. Now, let's go back to having a lack of funds. What are the things you can do? Your store is great. You just don't have sales, but you also don't have the money to buy new inventory. That's kind of the lifeblood of your store. So obviously, free stuff is great. Free section of Facebook. If you have a free cycle website locally close to you, that's great too. Craigslist free section used to be great. It's depending on your city, it's okay now. Any of the other OfferUp, you can check the apps. I don't know if they have a free section because I don't really use OfferUp very much. I used to make the rounds on Sunday evenings, Sunday afternoons, and pick up any free leftovers from garage sales. And I would pinpoint estate sales and moving sales, because estate sales, they don't own the house, they have to leave. So if they haven't left yet and they're still there, you can sometimes ask them, hey, if you haven't allocated this for something, do you want, sometimes they'll have a free box or whatever. Moving sales, definitely. If they are moving, they don't have another avenue sometimes, and it will just be on the sidewalk with a big sign that says free or be by the trash. People like Taco Stacks and a bunch of other YouTubers make a ton of videos about this kind of stuff, just picking up free stuff. If you know the garbage schedules, especially for your local area, you can figure out, okay, Monday morning it's this area, Tuesday morning it's this area. You can, make the rounds and you can pick up a bunch of free stuff there. I mean, you don't necessarily have to go through the garbage cans, but right next to them, usually there's stuff that's just sitting there. So double check that and, see if you can get some free stuff. Why not, right? Talk about good ROI. Number 9, cross-listing. So this might cost you a little bit depending on the site, but I do cross-list, not as much as I should. A little bit to Poshmark, more to Etsy and Mercari. Etsy's vintage stuff. Mercari is usually toys. Some other stuff I'm dabbling with. Another thing I do in the summer times is I push my Amazon, my FBA. I try and get that stocked up for Q4. One thing I want to get as many, things in there before Q4, especially with COVID the last couple of years. They've had multiple stoppages where you couldn't send stuff in, but if you had stuff there, it's still sold. So I switch, if one thing's not working, try a different avenue. So my Amazon FBA right now, the last couple of weeks, I've been sending in, 3, 4, or 5 shipments a week if I can. So that's one thing to do. If your eBay isn't up to what it normally is. And, that stuff always helps. You're looking for Q4, and Amazon is really, like all these sites that are big on Q4, but I like to stock it up if I can. One thing that's overlooked a lot by people is Bonanza. People severely overlook it. If you have an eBay store, you need to be on Bonanza. It's free, it's easy. It takes a couple minutes. You just kind of set up the account and they just migrate your stuff over there, and you just check it once a day or whatever your shipping times are. And that's it, really. I mean, they pay through PayPal, I believe, and it's pretty simple. And so if you're not on Bonanza, check out the app now. Go to Bonanza. I don't know if you can do it on a PC too, but I'm pretty sure you can on the app, because otherwise you're just losing. I mean, it doesn't have the foot traffic that eBay does at all. But, if it's one sale, that's one sale you didn't have if you didn't, sign up for it. So check it out. All right. And number 10, and this one is probably for me, I'm talking to myself here, but it might be for some of you as well. If you reach the end of this video, then you're most likely spending way too much time watching YouTube videos. And I don't mean this 100% tongue-in-cheek. This is half tongue-in-cheek, being honest. Because I've been talking to a lot of resellers, especially the last year or so. And I'm not trying to lecture you because I'm really, really bad at this. I spend a lot of time doing useless things, wasting time, watching things I shouldn't. Maybe you can, instead of watching the videos, turn off your monitor and just listen in the background. Don't interact. I'm not saying don't interact in chats. I shouldn't say that. But don't spend time that you could be spending listing doing something that's not going to benefit you. Be selfish. Maybe that's not the PC thing to say. But if you have slow sales and it's the difference between you watching blah, blah, blah on whatever show or making a sale, you should be making that sale, or at least trying to make it. So anyways, like even me and my buddy Leroy, Blood, Sweat, and Sell, we postponed our channel. Like we used to do a morning show where we would do listings, get next to nothing done. But at least it was, beneficial in other ways for a while. We stopped doing it. And hopefully we'll, go back to it in the future. But right now we just said we want to focus on our stores. So that's what we're doing. So I'm, there's people out there, they can do 50 things at one time. You can watch, you can chat, you can comment, and you can push out like thousands of items. If you're that person, more power to you. I'm not. I can barely, read. So, and that's just one thing. Yeah, I'm being honest. That's just me. So anyways, manage your time. I have a tough time doing it, especially if you have kids, you have a job, you have whatever other responsibilities you have. You know your time better than anybody else. So I'm just saying, be selfish. Put yourself first. And I think that might take care of a lot of these issues. All these other things, these other 9 things might be after this thing for you. I don't know, maybe not, who knows. But with that said, that is it for this video. Hopefully it was beneficial to you. Like I said, the notes are in the description. You don't have to watch it again, even though I would like it if you did. And if you'd like to subscribe, that'd be great. All right, until the next one though, thanks for watching or not. Have a good one. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Reseller Niche Podcast. Show notes and social media links are located at resellerniche.com. Please comment, rate, and subscribe to us on iTunes or YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.